When we were at Lee and Philippa's place recently, we met a gentleman whose name is Matthew Sample. Matthew has a wonderful story. He grew up somewhere here in the United States. I believe it was Idaho? Seattle. And we happened to sit down with him one afternoon at Philippa and Lee's home, and he had a great story to tell. I don't think I would do it justice, so he has graciously accepted to introduce Philippa and Lee, and if he could come up, do that. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matthew Sample.
Thank you very much. Well, as you alluded to, I have an interesting story, but I'm not going to, it takes too long to really tell. So if you want to come by later on and ask me about it, I will. But I will say this, that I came to Houston, and by the way, my African last name is Molekezi. So, to make a long story short, I grew up not knowing my father. He was from Uganda. His name was Everest Molekezi. And as I grew up as a kid, I always wanted to try and find him and find my family. And eventually I made a trip to Uganda on my own with nothing but an article to go by. And by the grace of God, and by fate, and by luck, by destiny, I was able to discover my African family in Uganda. So this African experience is not entirely new to me. This happened several years ago, but every time I come in contact with my culture, it touches me deeply. So you all make me feel very welcome all the time. About 8 years ago, I came to Houston, Texas for a job. And I lived here for about 3 years. My family's all over the place. I have family in Korea, I have family in London, I have family mostly in the Northwest. So I was away from mom and my stepfather and my family. And Bastina, my Aunt Bastina in Uganda emailed me and said, you know, you have some relatives, some African friends in Houston. Did you know that? And I go, I didn't know that. And so that's where I met Philippa and Lee. And they welcomed me into their home. They embraced me as part of their family. And I learned in African culture, we're all family, right? So they made me feel very welcome, and I didn't feel so alone. And Philippa will probably tell you I don't visit her enough, but I'm working on that, all right? But anyway, to meet these people, these strong couple, if you go to their home, they have all this great African art, literature, and pictures, and they've lived a great full life, and it's just overwhelming. It really is something that I envy. Lee's a great man. I look up to him literally and figuratively because he's so tall. I looked at his this guy could ball, let me tell you. Lee could play some basketball back in the day. That's something I learned on my last visit. Got some great old pictures of him playing there. But Philippa was someone special. I saw it right away. And many of you may or may not know this, but she's been a cancer survivor for 14 years. And she's, you know, sometimes you would meet someone who is a cancer survivor and they'll say, okay, well, I beat it. That's it. That's all I have to do. But she didn't feel that way. She felt compelled and drawn to a cause, to a mission. She calls it her mission. And that's very commendable. And that takes a special person to take that initiative. And so what she's done has led to tonight. And she's the woman of the hour. And I'm sure that she would deflect all the accolades towards her because it's for a greater cause. It's for a greater good what she's doing tonight. And she's taken... she's taken the initiative, and your presence here tonight proves that you've taken the initiative as well. And this is just the beginning. And from what I've always felt, even before I made my journey to Uganda, was that, you know, Africa is very important to all of us. And its survival and its future, its existence is key to the entire planet. And what Philippa is doing her small part to help in that cause. So, without further ado, the lady of the hour, Philippa, and her stud husband, Lee. Come on up here.
Well, we're very happy to see all of you out here tonight. My wife has sort of given her life to this. I think that if it became a situation between me and this program, I probably would have to go. Now, well, some of you know of the story. As you know, Philippa is a survivor, but more than that, she lost a sister several years ago, at 39 years old, to breast cancer. And one thing I remember was that she lived in Lubumbashi in Zaire. And she went to London for an operation. And I remember Philippa saying that she had to go. And I said, well, why do you have to go? I said, why don't you just send some money, because I know it's a very expensive thing. She said, no, I have to go. I think she got there on a Friday, and her sister died on Monday. And I said, boy, just imagine if I had kept my wife from going to London that time, I don't think she would have stayed with me. But anyhow, what happened after she had the operation, she went back to Zaire. And I think that gets to what is really going on in Africa as far as breast cancer is concerned. After 6 months or so, she got very sick. And they had to take her back to London. But by that time, it was too late. So I think since then, Philippa's had it in her mind that here's a continent as big as it is. And of course, she's trying to make a start in 2 countries, Uganda, where she grew up, and Rwanda, where she was born. And when you have a situation in a country that's really unbelievable, where there's practically no treatment for women that have breast cancer. Many of women are dying. They don't even know that they have breast cancer. So she wanted to start this grassroots program. She had it in her mind, and I can assure you that she's worked on this for a couple of years, and she's, sometimes, I don't know if she goes to bed at night, but she's always working on this program. And I really didn't know that she had gone as far as she did, you know, because I'm sleeping most of the time. And next thing I know, she had her 501(c)(3). She got it through. She went to Uganda last summer, or this summer really, spent 2 months there trying to organize a ground program. And I think she was very successful and identified key people that she'd like to bring into this organization. And it's just been a marvel to see, you know, how she's really put this thing together, you know, and she's made her contacts here. She's got people from MD Anderson, she has the Komen Group, and she's got everybody else involved. So people are really behind her. All of you here are here because of her. And I think, I know that this is a sort of a modest beginning, but she had to start somewhere. And I think now that she has kicked this off,